Lance's plugs are used every day for testing, bypassing, and blocking pipelines. You should be aware that an inherent danger exists with all inflatable products. But with common sense and these safety rules, you can prevent property damage, injury, and death. We would like you to take a few minutes to view this video, which identifies some basic safety guidelines for the safe use of our plugs. These guidelines are not intended to limit any common sense issues, nor are they all-inclusive. Instead, they are meant as building blocks for the safe and proper use of test plugs. These plugs were improperly installed. Don't make these mistakes. During the use and installation of test plugs, all OSHA, federal, state, and local regulations must be followed. If you do not know what regulations pertain to you, consult your supervisor. Prior to the installation of Lance's plugs, certain calculations must be made to properly determine the size or type of plug to be used. These calculations must include the pipe's inside diameter and the amount of pressure on the plug. Head pressure is measured from the center line of a pipe, and it is simply the amount of water above the pipe plug. A column of water 34 feet high will exert a line pressure of approximately 15 psi on a plug. Remember, that's pounds per square inch. The surface area of an 8-inch plug is more than 50 square inches. So, an 8-inch plug can be holding back a total force of 750 pounds. In a 48-inch line, the same 15 psi is equivalent to over 27,000 pounds of force. Prior to use, always check the plugs for damaged rubber, cracks, tears, cuts, punctures, abrasions, loose or damaged fittings, and cracks in the castings. Also, do not forget to inspect all inflation hoses. If any questionable conditions exist, do not use the plug and consult your supervisor. Inspect the pipeline for conditions that may cause damage to the plug, and clean any foreign material from the pipe before the plug is installed. Prior to inflation, position the front of the plug into the pipeline a minimum distance of 1 pipeline diameter. Some pneumatic plugs may elongate upon inflation and cause the plug to protrude from the pipeline if not initially placed far enough into the pipe. Never allow pneumatic plugs to protrude from the end of a pipeline during inflation or use. Never inflate a pneumatic plug outside of a pipeline. Never inflate a pneumatic plug over or near a sharp object or obstruction. Never inflate a pneumatic plug over lateral openings. Blocking or bracing and containment systems must be used to prevent the movement or complete dislodging of pipe plugs. This blocking or bracing should be designed to contain a dislodged plug and all materials behind the plug should the plug fail. Use of a certified engineer for design, construction, and maintenance of a containment system is recommended. Rubber eyelets, steel rings, or metal eyes are not to be used in restraining pipe plugs. These eyelets, rings, and metal eyes are designed only for lifting and lowering of the plug. Many of our customers have used double plugging. It is simply the use of 2 plugs on separate lines to stop the flow. Avoid the danger zone. This is an area directly in front and around the plugged pipeline and over a manhole. It is an invisible funnel-shaped zone, increasing in size as it moves outward from the pipeline. Should the plug fail, the plug and accompanying debris from inside the pipeline and outside the pipeline will be projected outward. If structures such as pipes, walls, or other objects are located in the danger zone, ricochet effects can result. Use of a properly calibrated gauge is always recommended for the continuous monitoring of inflation pressures and test pressures. Inflating plugs to the recommended pressure is critical in preventing dislodgement due to underinflation or plug rupture due to overinflation. Do not use pneumatic plugs without knowing the proper inflation pressure and test pressure. Lancis sells extension hoses and polylift rope inflation lines of various lengths. Be sure you are using a length which allows you to stay clear of the danger area when pneumatic plugs are in use. Check all fittings and connections of the plug, extension hose, hand pump, compressor, and valves for conditions which may cause leakage of air. Pressures higher than the maximum rating for the plug may cause the plug to become dislodged. Do not use a pneumatic plug without knowing the proper inflation pressure and back test pressure. Lancis pneumatic plugs are rated for use in a clean, dry line. Foreign materials such as algae, mold, sand, oil, grease, and other materials may significantly reduce the ability of a plug to hold back the maximum test pressure for which the plug is rated. Consult your supervisor when these conditions exist, and always block the plug to prevent dislodging. Do not deflate the pneumatic plug until all remaining back test pressure has been relieved. After releasing all the back test pressure, you can safely deflate the plug. From a safe distance outside of the danger zone, release the air in the pneumatic plug through the inflation hose until the plug is completely deflated. Do not attempt to pull the plug from the pipeline before it is completely deflated. A pneumatic plug should be cleaned and inspected after each use. Proper personal protective equipment and the use of water and a mild detergent with a disinfectant is recommended. Prior to use, re-inspect the plug for damaged rubber, cracks, tears, cuts, punctures, abrasions, damaged fittings, and cracks in the castings. If any questionable conditions exist, do not use the plug again and consult your supervisor and/or Lancis. After the pneumatic plug has been cleaned and inspected and is suitable for reuse, it must be stored. Lancis recommends that all plugs be stored in an area out of direct sunlight and kept in as close to the plug's original cylindrical form as possible. An inherent danger exists with all inflatable products. If any conditions with this equipment exist that may jeopardize the safety of yourself, your coworkers, or others, do not use it. When questions arise, contact your supervisor, safety director, or Lancis for instruction. Failure to comply with these safety instructions, or those of OSHA, the federal, state, and local governments, may result in property damages, serious bodily injury, or death. If you have any questions regarding the use of Lancis equipment, or if you need copies of our complete safety literature, contact the Lancis team of professionals at 1-800-452-4902 or 209-334-4115. You can also find our safety instructions on the web at www.lancis.com. Safety rules you can live with. Check the plug and equipment. Measure, inspect, and clean the pipeline. Install the plug a minimum distance of 1 pipeline diameter into the pipeline prior to inflation. Block all plugs in place to prevent movement or complete dislodging. Use a properly calibrated gauge when inflating the plug. Only inflate the plug to its maximum inflation rating. Never exceed the maximum back test pressure. Do not deflate the pneumatic plug until all remaining back test pressure has been released. Deflate the plug a safe distance away from the danger zone with the use of a polylift rope hose. Remove all blocking. Remove the plug with use of a polylift rope line. Re-inspect and clean the plug with water and a mild detergent. Store the plug out of direct sunlight. Avoid the danger zone. If a test plug fails, the results are instantaneous and can be deadly. Pipe plugs can be used safely with proper job site supervision, knowing the safety rules, and a little common sense. Don't let this happen to you.